Hello, everyone, and welcome to the SavvyCast. I am grateful that you're here, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening to the podcast. I have a very special guest today, and I'm very excited because she is the founder and creator of Callie's Hot Little Biscuit, and I am a huge fan of all of her products, but she's such an inspiration. And I think all of you, after listening or watching, will agree that she is not only a Southern icon, but she is an inspiration to any woman who might one day have a dream to build a business and see where it could go. Carrie Morey, thank you and welcome to the SavvyCast.
Well, thank you. What a lovely introduction. And thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here.
Well, Carrie, I will just say my people, my circle, we are all very familiar with your biscuits. And just fairly recently, the biscuits started appearing in retail outlets like grocery stores. But prior to that, we would all have to go to the fresh market.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, let me just rewind because there's so many questions I want to ask, but I always start asking all of my guests, what would you choose as your last meal?
Oh, that's pretty easy to define for me because, it's pretty Southern. It's roast chicken or fried. I wouldn't turn either away. Rice and gravy, butter beans, and of course, buttermilk biscuits.
Oh, yes, you're a Southern girl like I am. So that does not surprise me. And to clarify, you grew up and still live in Charleston.
That is correct. Yes. Born and raised. There aren't many of us left now that the city is booming, but there are a few of us around.
Right. Okay. And I have learned a lot about you through your cookbook, which is one of my absolute favorites. Now, it did have a cover. I take covers off of all of my cookbooks, but there are recipes in here that literally I've never seen anywhere else. And one of them, and I think I put it on my story and you replied a sweet little reply, but things like the hot dog chili.
Ugh. We call those like rot gut recipes, but they are my favorite. So like the most simple memories from childhood, from the ballpark when you get the hot dog and somebody's made it in their crock pot the night before, and
Yeah.
just that of evoking those memories of childhood, and I can still taste it. So
Right. Well, I made it and served it to us at a small group gathering where we had grilled hot dogs and hamburgers, not a bite left. Everyone loved it. And they were like, we've never tasted this before. And I have these fears that there are going to be recipes that some of us grew up with that are going to disappear one day because we really don't have church cookbooks anymore because people don't really have potlucks anymore. And some of those Southern traditions, I just have fears that they're going to go away. So when I see recipes like yours and many others that I just treasure, I just want to share them and highlight the people who wrote them. So I hope you'll keep them coming. Do you plan to do another cookbook or are you just too busy with your business?
well, actually, the pandemic has been wonderful for writing a cookbook because I have one coming out in October.
Oh,
So
wonderful. What is it, just like a continuation or is it a totally different
it's
slant?
actually more modern day. It's called Hot Little Suppers, and it's all about the food that I cook now with my family in modern times over the last 5 to 7 years. So, Hot Little Suppers will be a combination of all of the recipes that we eat. So, Callie's Biscuits and Southern Traditions is super Southern, and it's more about the heirloom recipes that have been passed down from my grandmother, my mom, my dad, things that I grew up on. But now we tend to eat with a little bit more dimension. So it's Mexican, it's Asian, it's Indian. And I think that's what makes food so interesting is the culture behind it, which is Southern is a culture. And it
Yeah.
is certainly what has made me fall in love with food and cooking. But this is separated by seasons and then separated again within the seasons by weeknight and weekend. So things that you might serve at a dinner party versus I just need to feed my family after a volleyball game kind of thing.
Mhm.
Because I tend to think of recipes in the moment. What am I craving? What's the weather like? What's the event? What do I need to celebrate or commiserate? And so that's kind of how I think about food, I guess.
Right. And if we ate Southern food the way we probably would enjoy our last meal, if we did that 3 times a day, I know I would not be able to fit into anything that I have in my closet. But
Me either. So
oh, well, that is wonderful. So it will be out in October. Cannot wait for that. So now tell us about your family.
Okay, so my husband John, he is actually originally from Wyoming, and we met in New York and have been married almost 20 years. And we have 3 daughters, Caroline, Kate, and Sarah. Caroline is 16, Kate is 14, and Sarah's 13.
Well, that's wonderful. Okay, so just to address, how did the shutdowns and the pandemic affect your business?
Well, just like everybody else, it has been rough for sure. You know, we laid off 40 people mid-March, closed all of our restaurants, actually kept our production facility open because we were considered an essential business because the grocery stores kept ordering. So we masked everybody up, daily temperature checks, and kept going. And that really, you know, that was our first big pivot, and just managing that and figuring out, you know, how to keep life going when all of the heartbeat, the restaurants were closed, was tough. And it's just crazy to think now that it's been over a year and we're coming out on the other side of it. And we're now, all of our restaurants are open. We still have 2, really 3 that are not open fully because 2 of them, well, all 3 of them are having staffing challenges. But Charlotte, our newest to open, that opened 5 weeks before the pandemic, just they haven't really gotten busy yet. It's crazy. North Carolina is not really open yet. I think in the last 2 weeks it's starting to be more open, but just a ghost town, and we're struggling there big time. I still don't know if we'll make it because it's just in this up and coming area that had so much life before the pandemic, but they just have not been able to get it back to where we were. So it's still, that part's unwritten. The rest of the divisions are doing great and are coming back strong, but Charlotte it's been struggling. So we're always pivoting, trying to think of new ways to get people in the door.
Oh, wow. Well, now I will speak for Birmingham. It's hopping. I mean, literally. So why don't you consider coming down to bringing one to Birmingham? We've got your neighbor, Rodney Scott. He's got fabulous. We love going to Rodney Scott's. So, but I'm sure you try to keep it in the state. Well, you're in Atlanta, correct?
Atlanta, I mean, you know, ignorance is bliss. I actually opened our second Hot Little Biscuit in Atlanta. So that was an interesting business learning lesson to learn the hard way, to open your second location 5 hours away from your first. Clearly, I knew nothing about the restaurant business, but we've been there for 5 years and it's definitely been a struggle, but it's been great. You know, it kind of messed a little bit with my work-life balance, but you know, we've made it through, and we're very proud of that store and love where it is and love everything about it.
Where is it in Atlanta?
It's in the Virginia Highlands neighborhood, which is an adorable old neighborhood, kind of right behind Piedmont Park in Midtown.
Yes.
Tree-lined streets, tons of families, strollers, kids everywhere. It's really cute.
So what would it take, just from a business perspective, if someone to approach you from a city with a desire to start one of your businesses there?
I have an entire folder on that. I have probably 300 different people that have emailed me over the last 5 years asking for that. And that is just such a bigger conversation. And that takes a franchising agreement and a whole set of people that know what they're doing. And I do not. But it is definitely on my growth exploration list. So whether or not to franchise Hot Little Biscuit or just to choose, you know, 10 perfectly curated cities to open 10 more over the next 5 to 7 years. I still don't have the answer to what I want to do there, but we're working through that. That is on my goal list for sure.
Right. Well, did the pandemic affect your online business to clients or just like to homes?
We saw tremendous growth. It was amazing. It was, we had just switched all of our branding and packaging the week that everybody went on lockdown. So we, automatically thought, oh, this is going to be the worst time to do this, but it actually was great. And all of our customers and even new ones responded beautifully, and our sales were up, I mean, over 100%. So that was amazing. And it's been strong ever since. It's not as strong as it was this time last year, but we're way ahead of where we were in 19. So we feel like we've really gained some new followers and new customers, which is really nice.
Okay, well, I want you to just tell everyone how that one recipe with your mom led to this booming business and this Southern iconic product today. How did you get started?
Well, my mom was always a caterer when I was growing up, and she would work on the weekends. And one of the things that was always on every menu, no matter what the cuisine was her country ham biscuits. So I was always the one serving them and seeing the accolades of all the people loving it and asking me where they could get them and da, da, da. And so I think as I grew up and got married and had our first daughter, I really struggled with what do I want to do that can provide me the balance of really being able to be a present mom and be at home, and also at the same time be able to have something of my own that was in a passion of mine, which was food, specifically Southern food. And so, when you're on maternity leave, you have a lot of free time to think about all the things that you want to do and dream. And so I was actually visiting her one day with Caroline. She was about 6 months old and she was making biscuits. And I said, Mom, we can't open a restaurant. That's not conducive to the lifestyle that we want to lead. It's not, I can't do that with young babies. You're getting old. What if we were to take your best product and try to package it and sell it? And I said, and that's clearly ham biscuits. And I just think back about that conversation because it's as if I could be there right now. I remember it perfectly. And she looked up from Stampin' Biscuits and said, that is a horrible idea. Like, who would buy biscuits? Everybody makes them. And I said, no, Mom, nobody does this anymore. And it's a dying art. And it's our duty as good Southern women to revive the art of handmade biscuit making. And she thought it was the worst idea ever. So twisting her arm and, using my natural sales ability to talk her into going into business with me to sell her ham biscuits, which is another funny thing. I think back, can you imagine starting a business based on a country ham biscuit? I mean, most people in America don't even know what country ham is. So
if you grew up like I, of course, do. I grew up in the South, but heart of Dixie, but absolutely. Yes.
Right.
I can't imagine.
Other than us in the South, the deep South, most people don't know what country ham is. And can you imagine starting a food business where there was only one option and it was country ham that's been cured in salt? I mean, it's just kind of comical if you think about it. So
now, had you gotten your degree in business?
I got my degree in elementary education, took my test, went and did teacher, whatever, student teaching.
Wow. So you just had a business mind, because to have that idea and to have that, I guess, that dream, you've got to have something in you that's business related, that or an entrepreneur spirit.
But, I look back on it. My grandfather was an entrepreneur. My dad is an entrepreneur. And, in many ways, my mom was being a caterer. And the key was having a passion for what you want to do and then figuring out how to do it with your lifestyle. And my dad definitely did that. I mean, he raised me growing up, and he spent a lot of time with me at home and would work from home and just creating the lifestyle that he wanted to live. And I think that was a huge thing in my head, is how do I work in an area that I love, which is food, and create a lifestyle where I'm not hiring a fleet of nannies and not ever seeing my children. The business has been around for 16 years, but it's grown really slowly. And a lot of people say, well, why haven't you grown quicker? And I'm like, I'm not in any hurry. I mean, I'm not going anywhere. This is my only thing. I don't want to start another business. This is my life's work. So I have grown the business at a slower pace based on the growth of my children, and not grown at a place where I was, always traveling and not able to be with them. And now that they're all three in school full time, and I mean, I've got one that's going to be a senior in high school next year, it's setting up to be able to take it to the next level and really grow it as the girls are older. And I never want to look back and think, oh, I missed out on a volleyball game or a tournament or being with them because I did work. Like, that's
So
boring.
it's very clear that you are first about family. You're a wife and you're a mom, and the business works, you work that around what's most important to you.
Yeah.
And you're showing that that can be done, that you can balance that.
Yeah, I think there's just a lot of pressure on women to choose one or the other, which I think is nonsense. And then if you choose work, then it's, oh my gosh, you've got to grow at this frenetic pace. I mean, we see it in social media all the time. It's like, oh, that's not enough to do a reel. You got to do 5 a week, and you got to do, and it's just like this hamster wheel that just never ends. Like, why? Who's defining this? Like, you have to define what you want for yourself. And I always say, what is your life mission? What is your passion? What is your purpose? And how do you want to live your life? Because if you're not happy, what does it matter? Right? Like, how do you define success? Is it money? Is it number of biscuits sold? Is it time with your family and your lifestyle? And everybody has a different answer. And for me, it's definitely time and, making sure that I put my family first. And then also, yes, I want the business to succeed, but it doesn't need to go at some crazy
Right.
pace. So,
Well, do you think any of your daughters will come back and work in the business?
well, 2 of them already work as hot little biscuiteers in the stores on the weekend. So we have a family pool here. And this is, I talk about this a lot when I speak. In order to figure out your passion, the only way you can do that is to have life experience, right? So if you don't work, and you're never going to really know what you love to do. And so all of our girls know that when they turn 14, they have to have a job, even if it's just 1 day a week. And so, it gives them their own money, it gives them purpose. It really builds confidence for them to have to work on and figure out scheduling and dealing with other people and accountability. But that's how you figure out what you want to do. I can remember having so many different jobs in high school. And I remember being in like a retail clothing store and thinking, this is the worst job ever. I could never do this. It's too slow for me. I can't, and that's how you figure it out. So, so 2 of my girls work. My third one turns 14 next February. And she's already said, Mom, I'm working at Lululemon. I'm not working with Hot Little.
Oh my goodness.
You don't have to work with me, but you got to have a job. So,
oh, that's great. So do you see that this could eventually just become a family business where most of your family is employed and as it grows?
I'm really torn because obviously, yes, I would love for them to take it over one day, but I also strongly believe in finding your own passion. And so I want them to figure out what it is about themselves that makes them tick, right? Everybody's different. And I do want them to have an experience at Hot Little Biscuit, but I don't know that I want to pass it down to them because then will they ever really be able to figure out their own passion? That is what's most important to me because that creates true happiness in my opinion.
Right. Okay. Well, I was reading that you did not make biscuits until you were 30.
That is true. I mean, other than like helping my grandmother and mom, I mean, I definitely had made biscuits, but not like I could not be counted on for biscuit production, really making them with my eyes closed until I was about 30. Yeah, that's exactly right. And it was a daunting task.
And I love to cook, but I will say biscuit making is not something I just love to do. That is why, oh my goodness, all day long I'll go buy yours and keep them in the fridge and just turn to those because I don't love to do it. But your mother was the one who made them and it was your idea. Tell us what happened a few years after you started the business.
Well, when we first started, I said, let's assign roles so that we don't get in each other's way. And her job was to manage the baking process. My job was to run the business, marketing, sales, fulfillment, all that. And that sounded great on paper in theory, but my mom from the very beginning wasn't really into it. So she didn't ever want to bake and she didn't want to be there to do the baking or overseeing it. And I'm like, you don't have to be there to bake, but you got to train somebody that can manage it. Right. So it just wasn't her thing. And she didn't have like the long-term vision for it. So her being there really upset her and it wasn't making her happy. And so we kind of came to a pass where I was like, okay, obviously this isn't what you want to do. I'm just going to take over. And we had started to get, relatively busy. And I realized that if I was going to be at the helm, I couldn't expect my employees to do anything that I didn't do. And I hadn't mastered. So I can't write a schedule on biscuit production and understand the biscuit problems and the day-to-day runnings of the biscuit business if I really wasn't an expert in making biscuits. And so I kind of went into the baking team and I said, okay, I'm going to spend weeks here with y'all. And I want you to teach me everything you know. And I want to learn all of the terms of the business, because if I'm going to be the captain of the ship, I need to really master it. And I was so nervous and intimidated to do that. But just like everything else, when you conquer a fear or you tackle a fear and you come out on the other side, it's like, you get confidence, you feel so much smarter, so much more knowledgeable. And then I was able to really understand that whole side of the business and merge the two, which needed to talk to each other. So I needed the production to talk to the shipping and marketing and the sales part of it. And that wasn't happening in the beginning years of the business. So, I'm very grateful for that. And I hope that whenever I'm fearful, I'll look back on that moment in my career and say, you just got to go head first and tackle.
Right. So when you started, you had the experts who your mom had been one, but she trained them, or she found great bakers who made great biscuits. And then they taught you where you would understand how every angle of the business worked, from the making of the biscuits to, I love that. So where did that start? Did you have you grown as you've grown? Have your facilities changed or?
Totally. Yeah. So the first 6 or 7 years, we would bake like 3 or 4 hours a day and be so excited when we made like a couple thousand biscuits. We would all stop for lunch and have family staff meal. The whole production stopped. It wasn't until 3 years ago that we really turned it into a production facility where people would go on breaks and production never stopped, so it was such a family organization up until a few years ago. We actually had the whole business audited, and that was the first thing they said. They said, you're wasting so much money. Like, I understand that you want to keep it so that everybody can sit down and have lunch, but it's just not realistic. And so that was one of the many things that we changed to make it more business-like. I would say that there are so many things about the production of the biscuit making that has changed, except the one thing that really hasn't changed is that they're all made by hand the same exact way they always have been. We figured out shortcuts, like instead of hand buttering them, we have a butter sprayer. And I'm trying to think of another way. When we make the ham biscuits, it used to take us 3 days, and now we figured out how to make them all in one just
Wow.
little tips and tricks that you wouldn't understand. It would be
So there's no conveyor belt that there's something happening by a machine. It's a hand.
It is a hand. It is multiple hands. It is all handmade, every single part of it. It's pretty fascinating to watch. It's like a symphony of biscuits.
Wow. Okay. Now I want to ask you, because I have the cookbook and it has the basic biscuit recipe, and you're saying ham biscuit. I also know, because I've bought them and enjoyed them, you have biscuits that are ham biscuits, that the ham is in the dough. It's not like a slice of ham.
Well, it's not in the dough. So what we do is we bake a cheese biscuit and we slice it down the center and flip over the top. And so you have like a sandwich, and then we take a whipped Dijon mustard butter and we put that on the biscuit on the inside. And then we take Edwards Virginia ham that does come in slices and we chop it. And my mom always did that, because when you're standing at a cocktail party and you take a bite out of a ham biscuit, if you've had one that has a slice in it, you take a bite and the whole piece of ham comes out of your mouth. And then you're standing there with a biscuit without ham in it, and you're at a cocktail party and you've got ham hanging out of your mouth.
Right.
So she always chopped it. And then we put piles of the chopped ham in the center so that every bite has ham, and you're not in this awkward position eating a ham biscuit with ham hanging out of your mouth and a biscuit with no ham in it. So our ham has always been chopped.
Do you think that, in addition to the fact that they're just absolutely the most fabulous Southern biscuits ever, do you think that part of that set your mom's recipe apart helped get the traction needed to separate you from other great biscuits?
Yeah, I definitely think there are a couple things that were different about her biscuits. Number one being that they were handmade, which to
Right.
my knowledge, nobody does that, which may be a good thing or a detriment. You never know. The second thing is that this ham biscuit, I don't know of another technique like this. So that was definitely distinctively different, we'll say.
Right, right. Because I cook and I've had those biscuits, but I could not figure out how it happened. Okay, so I want to ask you something about your online orders. Are you able to tell about different states' food preferences based on your biscuit orders?
Somewhat. We definitely see trends of in the Northeast, it's more about the savory, like buttermilk and sharp cheddar. In the
Mhm.
Midwest, they're much more about the sweets. And down south, it's definitely like the country ham, the sharp cheddar, those biscuits. So yeah, it's different based on the different areas, and not just on online, but in grocery stores. We'll see more people in the Midwest order the cinnamon and the blueberry than they do in the southeast or the northeast.
I love all of them, and I, especially for the sweet, love the cinnamon. And I know that people who follow you, and I will link to all the different ways to connect with you and with the business. But I love it on the Instagram when people will post how they've used them. And we were on the way to the farm this weekend, and you had was it the cinnamon biscuits or the blueberry? And you had the sugar, and for Memorial Day, red, white, and blue. And my
Yeah.
best friend was with me. She says, that is so clever. I mean, do people just submit ideas on your Instagram, or do y'all have?
That was actually me. I made those and we did a little video of it. And I just thought, I've been thinking a lot. And also this weekend, I made a short cake. So I took our shortcake biscuit dough and just instead of stamping it, I put the dough into a sheet pan and baked it like a cake. And I iced it and then put sprinkles on it and took it to a party that we were invited to yesterday. And nobody knew, everybody thought it was cake. I put lemon zest and lemon juice in it, so it kind of had this pound cake
Yeah.
texture, feel, taste to it. And I think that's what is so interesting about biscuits is that the dough is so versatile. There's so many things you can do with it. I mean, obviously biscuits are the best thing to do with it, but there's
Mhm.
just so many different things you can do with it. So when we had the extra biscuits, I was like, these would be perfect for like a little Memorial Day celebration. So let's do some sprinkles on them. So that kind of just was the last minute idea.
Is there a place that you can go? I know on the box you have serving suggestions or ways that you can serve for breakfast or for lunch or for snack or for dinner. Is there a compilation of all the different ideas for your products, different recipes?
We have a section in the website called Hot Little Suppers, which is our blog, but it's not exclusively for ways to use our biscuits. But I love that idea that we almost need to separate it out. And we do tons of videos all the time. Like I just did two this morning, like what to do with those two leftover biscuits that you have. Don't throw them away.
Yeah.
Throw them in the food processor, make breadcrumbs out of them, or break them into pieces, toast them, and make croutons for, sweet croutons for ice cream sundaes and savory croutons for salads, and then breadcrumbs for topping. There's just unlimited ways to use all those things. And so we are making videos of that, and they do live on our YouTube page and then obviously Reels and Instagram. But that is a good idea. Thank you for the
Yeah.
tip to put a section on our website for ways to use our biscuits.
We just enjoy them. We took them to the farm this weekend. We take them anytime we travel where we'll have biscuits on hand. And your biscuits have been beloved by many people, including Oprah. They were on Oprah's favorite things in 2008.
2009.
Now that is a big deal. How did that? I mean, her favorite things, I know I always bought at least one or two of her favorite things. And, she was world renowned. How did that boost business?
It was great, obviously. I mean, she's like puts her stamp of approval on something, and,
Yeah.
and the internet gods were shining upon us for
Yeah.
sure. I think what had happened was somebody gave Gail the biscuits and then she turned Oprah onto them. I can't remember, but that was back when she still had her TV show, and it was a really big deal. And before online was taking away all the allure of actual print magazines. I feel like I'm worried about print magazines because online just takes over. But yeah, it was huge. It was in August, and it was as if Christmas came in the summer because we just had so many orders online. And when you have something like that, you can use it and reuse it again and again. So even today, we still tout that, which is really nice. And then Jenna Bush Hager gave her a big box of biscuits for her Christmas gift to Oprah. And Oprah on Christmas Eve opened it up on Instagram in front of everybody, which was, oh my gosh, the best Christmas present ever.
Oh, wow. And you've been on many, many national shows but you just seem to be so unaffected by this huge success. I mean, you're just so charming and humble. How do you not, with all the appearances, how do you keep your head down?
To me, it's like just being authentically myself and reminding myself that, you have to stay humble. You can't spend too much time celebrating your successes because
Yeah.
then that's when you get into trouble. And I also have 3 sets of eyes staring at me, and
Mhm.
they keep me in check, and they remind me of what's most important, and that is not me.
Who is your biggest cheerleader?
Oh, I would say definitely my husband, with my daughters being close second, if not tied for first. I get a ton of love and support from them, which is really nice. And then my father and my family as well too. So
Okay, I do want to know, do you have a favorite of your biscuits?
I get that question a lot, and I'd have to say if I had to pick one, it would be the buttermilk because there's just so many possibilities with that biscuit. It can be sweet, it can be savory, it can be, as I made today for lunch, biscuit croutons that are
Oh,
just there's so many options for
love
it.
it.
So I'd say the buttermilk biscuit is my favorite because it's kind of the beginning of so many opportunities and really tangy and tasty and buttery, which I love.
Yeah. Do you have, is there anything in the works for any kind of new biscuit, new flavor, or new type of biscuit? Or new product? Because I will say, love your pimento and cheese. It is the closest to homemade that I've found.
Well, we just finished shooting. We just made little jalapeno poppers with pimento cheese and topped with biscuit croutons today, and they are so good, by the way.
Okay, is all this on your YouTube?
It will be. We just shot for like the next 3 weeks. So, but yeah,
Okay, I'm
we shoot
very
3 weeks for different recipes and ideas.
okay. I am so glad to know that you have a YouTube. I did not know that. I will be subscribing as soon as we get off because wow, that's amazing. And oh, the pimento and cheese, it does not last long at our house. It reminds me of what I grew up eating that my mother made. It just tastes so fresh. Was that a family recipe or did that
Yeah.
have to just go through food tests and
It
test?
was, it was a family recipe. It was my mom, Callie's recipe, and then we made a spicy version. And I agree. I mean, it was always in our refrigerator, always, and we never bought what was in the store because what was in the store was never good. Now you can find a lot of good alternatives, but it was, always in your refrigerator. You never not had it. So thank you. I'm so glad you like it.
Love it. And I do want you to just touch upon your gift boxes because and Carrie, I do not know. My husband, he's an investment banker, and every Christmas the doorbell starts ringing. We get gifts, business, corporate gifts. One year, and I believe it's about 3 years ago, a Callie's biscuit package came to a big box. It had everything in it. It had the cookies, the pimento and cheese. I mean, it had everything. But I will tell you, I told my husband, please find out who sent this to you and thank them because it's one of my all-time favorite gifts, other than a lobster gram that someone sent him one year, fresh Maine lobster. I said, this needs to be marked in my memory when we send a gift because everything was delicious. Everything was gone in about 4 weeks because we, just enjoyed it so much. Tell us what some of your most popular gift baskets include. I saw maybe for Father's Day, you had one that included the ham biscuits and things that dads would like, but you sort of have them grouped according to whether it's the season or the occasion.
we've been working really hard on bundles on our website because we realize that Callie's is not just a biscuit company. It is now a gifting website, and we want to be there we want to be the first place that you think of when you want to send a gift. What comes to mind right now is our subscription boxes, which are super cool, really for the person that, has everything, but you want to send them something and it kind of keeps giving. So you get a quarterly shipment and it's always a different shipment. And it also, we partner with some really cool local companies regionally. And so it's not just our stuff. We add little tips and tidbits from other companies too, like Banner Butter is a great company in Atlanta, Georgia, and Red Clay Hot Sauce, and they kind of all go together. We're doing a summer biscuit bundle right now, and one of the things that I'm trying to get our customers to remember is that biscuits aren't just for breakfast. So growing up in the South, I mean, we had biscuits for every meal. I mean, it wasn't just breakfasting. It was, you had them for breakfast, lunch, dinner, supper. They were the bread of the table.
Right.
Biscuit sandwiches, biscuits for dessert. They were around for everything. And so creating these bundles where I can say, okay, you're going to use your country ham biscuits for your cocktail hour, not necessarily for breakfast. And I want you to take these cocktail pecans and serve them with the cheese crisp when you have wine. And then I want you to take your blueberry biscuits and whatever left over, I want you to make a cobbler with it. Or I want you to make a breakfast sandwich with this slab bacon and pimento cheese inside of a buttermilk biscuit. So trying to educate consumers on that biscuits are not just for breakfast anymore.
And I think that's great that you're doing it, because I do believe people need to be shown how to serve biscuit. And I love that on the back of the package, you offer suggestions. But your sweet biscuits, what a perfect topping for a cobbler. One thing I would recommend for a package is for a new mom or someone who's sick, who can't really cook, or they're really busy with a new baby, to be able to pull out those biscuits or pull out the pimento and cheese and make a sandwich. I mean, there are so many ways to use your product, and anybody would love any of your products. So I would love to link to the page where you offer all of your baskets and your gifts and your subscription. So one more thing, I saw that you have cooking classes, private cooking instruction.
Well, we do biscuit classes. So before the pandemic, we offered them monthly in every store, and people would sign up. And what we've realized over the pandemic is that whether it's in person or over Zoom, there's a really big market for baking classes. And, we do them privately for corporate. We do them privately in Charleston. There's so many bachelorette parties and people coming to Charleston wanting to have an experience that they will have us come to their Airbnb and teach them biscuit making in the morning, and they'll have champagne and we teach them how to make biscuits. And then so it's just a cool thing that is a natural progression, that is another arm of our business, which has been really nice.
So if someone wanted to have, let's say, a bachelorette party here in Birmingham, and we wanted to do the biscuits, it would be a Zoom and you mail ingredients?
Mail you the kits. We can do it in person. We can fly there. We can do it in one of our stores now that people are starting to get vaccines. So we'll do anything. And we've had people ask some crazy requests. And, usually if I can do it, I will make it happen.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, as we end, I want to get you to share a concept that I love is a biscuit bar. Can you tell us, just in a nutshell, if you were going to do a biscuit bar, what would you put out? Because I think that's a fabulous way to serve a crowd and have a lot of variety. So what are a few of the ways that you would? I do a lot with pimento and cheese in the middle of the buttermilk or the cheese ones, and I always have different meats. But do you have anything unique that you could share with us that would make a biscuit bar?
I like to do all the obvious, like the cheeses and the fruits and the pimento cheese and other little dips. But smoked salmon is great, like a shrimp salad, chicken salad is great. So you kind of build your own bar. And I love to take some of those leftover biscuits, make them into croutons, and then do a sweet bar with ice cream and sundae, and do sweet croutons, or the possibilities are endless, truly. But I do love little fried chicken, beef tenderloin, and smoked salmon with like an herbed cream cheese is a really good one as well. So I just think you kind of have to be creative, and whatever your theme of your party is, go with that. And remember that biscuits are just the vessel. It is the bread that just happens to be really tasty, and it can go in so many different
many different ways. I'm going to recommend your cookbook that I don't have the cover on, but it is still available, correct?
Sign of a good cookbook. Yes, it is still available on our website, on Amazon, and yeah, it's there. So hopefully it's a good part of everybody's kitchen, a good little secret weapon.
Well, it's wonderful. So I will link to all of your products, all of the ways to reach you and learn about your business, follow along. And I just thank you so much for just sharing with my followers. And I just wish you the very best. And oh, before we end, can you briefly tell us about How She Rolls?
Oh yeah. So
a documentary, because I have bookmarked that, and I want you to share that very quickly.
So How She Rolls is a 10-part, 30-minute docu-series that we have been shooting over the last year and a half with PBS. And it debuted nationwide 3 weeks ago, but you can get it anytime on pbs.org or on Amazon Prime. It's called How She Rolls, and it's all about the business of biscuits, balance, and more business, and how that all interweaves and my crazy life, and how we try to all make it work. And if you're interested in learning more about how to grow a business, specifically a biscuit business by a female founder, this is the show for you.
I will be watching that tonight. My husband's out of town, and I will be downloading that on Amazon. I cannot wait. So thank you, Carrie. Thank you so much. My best to you and your family. And hopefully I will be able to talk to you when your second cookbook comes out.
I'm coming down there. Enough of this Zoom. We got to meet in person.
You definitely, that must happen. But anyway, thank you so much. And you have a great day.
Thank you. You too. Bye, Jamie.
Bye.